Kingston did this, and it was kind of like an outline for phys ed. What we got is all of the skills should be listed. And George, what he did, he had this. I think I might even have a. I don't know. It was a
I have a
1,000 years
copy.
ago.
I have a
Yeah,
copy of it right beside me
and
now.
every time he worked on that skill, he put a check mark.
Yeah.
So then he could look and say, okay, I haven't worked on this, because everything needs to be worked on no matter what. Like, I see the NHL guys working on these things.
Yeah.
Every coach, like Bob Hartley, every single practice he worked on angling and stick on puck. He was really big on that.
Yeah.
And every coach has kind of the things they always work on.
Yeah.
But that would help the coaches to say, this is the. And I think Emily told me that Tessa's mom sends out a thing about what they need to work on each week or something.
Mhm.
So I imagine she has kind of a ordered thing like this.
Well, it's just a matter of whatever we give coaches, what are they going to use? This evaluation mechanism of 3 traits is to get a better look at what the player needs to do better in terms of evaluating them. But the bottom line is you're the coach. You have to make them better in the area they're not as good as they could be in. So this is for coaches. It's not for player selection, although it will help because you'll know what you're selecting, and coaches can know what the strengths are of each player and the weaknesses by their scores in 3 areas. And it's not like hearsay or this person said.
Well, the more information you got, the better, for sure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm seeing if they'll do that, and I'm just still hoping to, you know, keep staying in hockey a bit here now in the time I've got. So.
Well, it's just like doing the team covenant thing, or the thing you did there. I mean, going through the process is great, and you can always refer back to it.
Yeah.
But everybody, it depends how much value the people give to it.
Yeah.
And you can't. Everybody's got their own brain and does their own thing. I mean, you can only do what you can do.
Yeah. Tom, the team covenant, um, how different is it from the mission statement exercise? Would Is it the same? Would you do it? Like, I'm thinking maybe you should do the team covenant next year.
Well, I usually do the team covenant. We talked about the stuff all the time, but we never made an official team covenant.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I think it's the first year I haven't done that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we talked about the kind of stuff all the time. The benefit of the team covenant is the team makes it. There's no coaches involved.
Yeah.
You give them some guideline and they make it. And it always comes down to you only got so much time to do things, and you know sometimes you forget some stuff.
Do you have a template for that?
Yeah, I got like the guy that told me about it was Bob Murdoch,
Yeah.
and he said he would never coach a team without a team covenant. And he gave me his one from a pro team in Germany that he coached.
Yeah.
And it's 5 or 7 points. It's not like a whole whatever. And
Yeah.
the team comes up with it. And he says, whenever there was a problem, player doing something or other, they come into the office, and that was what was referred to, is what they agreed with on the first place.
Yeah.
And I think that, he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah. Can you send me a copy of how to do the team covenant with the team?
Sure.
Because I don't believe I'm going to be doing the mission statement exercise with the parents. But if you do it with the team, I'll get everybody to do it with the players, because we never did the mission statement exercise with the players. But the team covenant is a thing that the players can do. And if we do the mission statement exercise with the parents, the team covenant is what it complements the mission statement exercise. So I'm going to sort of be reminding you of that so that I can pass that on. Hell, we're talking about team covenant, and Tom got from Bob Murdoch years ago when he was coaching pro. He said he would never coach a team, and I'm sure at any level, without a team covenant. Tom, and I'm going to get you just to repeat what you said about Bob and the team covenant that you used to do, but we didn't do it last year. I'm trying to look at that tool to get people on the same ethical page. Tom, would you?
Well, the team covenant, basically how you do it is after you've got captains, after the team has been together for a little while, get the captains to run a meeting and the players come up with 5 or 7 points that's going to be their guide, and then he said, if things happen during the season, you've always got this covenant to refer to and say, okay, we agreed on this, and this is what the players agreed on, this, which gives it a lot more power than the coaches said to do this, right? And I basically forgot to do it last year, but we, as far as the team went, we didn't have problems. It's not something to do with the parents, and it's a really good thing to have. So
let me ask you this. I don't typically have captains. It seems to be the process of either electing them or appointing them is disruptive. And 2 years ago, when I had that Bantam team, and I offer a leadership development program for any player that wants to participate in it. And if they don't want to, that's fine. But they've got there's a book that I use called Captain's Leadership Manual by a guy named Jansen, Jann. It's got 2 S's in it. It's actually a really good book about leadership and the different styles of being a leader or being a captain. What your relation?
Hell, if you have a picture of that book,
I'll send it to you.
Send it to me, because I've had some association directors ask about leadership education here. So
I think it's a great book, Wally, and then I sit, and there's assignments, so the kids have to read and they have to write some stuff in there. It's not tough. And I meet with them every 2 to 3 weeks with the group of leaders, and we talk about those. It's more of a workbook for conversation.
What's the title of the book again?
Let me see if I have it sitting here. Just a second, I can look it up. It's available on Amazon. It's Captain's Leadership. Yeah, here it is right here. It's Team Captain's Leadership Manual. Here's what it looks like. I don't know if does that?
Take a picture, send it to me.
Yep, that's the Amazon.
Yeah, I'm gonna order one today. Plus the water bottle you said, Tom.
Yeah. I mean, I asked the kids 2 years ago, I said, what do you think about captains? This has been something I don't know, I've struggled, but every group of kids is different. And when I was at Providence, we had kids from multiple communities, so I tried to spread leadership positions around so each tribe had representation. And But then we expanded it into a leadership group. And but I also like what Tom's saying. But I asked the kids, who's been the leader, who's been normally the captains? Oh, they go, that's easy. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, it's usually the coach's son. I said, well, do you like that? They go, no, I don't like it at all. Then I watched our high school coach last year. The kids voted on it, and the kid that everybody voted for didn't get, the coach didn't make him a captain. And so, I mean, everybody voted for him. That's what they told him, whatever. But the coach didn't say that. So I think I find that sometimes it's a pretty challenging process. My goal again this year is because captains can't do anything at 14 years old. They make no decisions. They get a C on their shirt, except ours. Apparently, we can't put them on the sweaters. I don't know why.
Well, we need them because the refs won't talk to a person unless they got a letter, right?
Well, that our refs won't talk to anybody anyways. They'll talk to me. They won't. They won't talk to the kids. They're just not interested. And there's only one scenario I think in high school hockey where a captain can make a decision, and that's if you have like 5 guys in the penalty box.
Yeah.
And you get scored on, and if 2 or 3 of them went in at the same time, and they're all eligible to come out, the captain can tell the ref which kid comes out of the penalty box. I've never seen it happen, but that's
I was going to say that could be once a year.
Yeah, or maybe once a decade. I mean, I don't know.
Well, what I do, and it's not perfect, but I have an anonymous thing.
Yep.
And I have every kid come and talk to me or the assistant coach and name 5 teammates that they think would be good captains.
Yep.
And then I ask the coaches as well.
Yep.
And then use that as a real guide, because I don't want to appoint someone to be captain that nobody mentioned, or 2 out of 19 mentioned.
Right.
And then make a decision on based on all that input who the captain would be. But captains are, if you get a bad captain, it can really, really hurt things.
I watched it with my son.
And I haven't done a very good job of teaching captains how to be captains. And I think that's something I have to add to my toolbox.
Yeah. Listen, last year we had issues with one U15 team. I'm not sure how their captains were selected, but I'm going to inquire. And you mentioned how they can't lead at 14. They're not natural leaders, so they do need education.
Yep.
But when we were having a crisis with parents, the director of the age group had a meeting with the coaches and the leadership group, listening to the concerns that had been sort of just in the atmosphere of the team that were demise of the team, and the captain supported the coaches in that meeting, and basically they said the problem was the parents. So you do have crises that occur, and you may have to refer to your captains to validate things that are going on, but we have to bridge a communication gap. Use our captains to communicate, develop our captains to become leaders, but improve the communication with parents in the whole process. So listening to you guys talk about captains, that book, Tom, the mission statement exercise to me is a parent one. The covenant, I would like to propose become a team one with every team. Because it doesn't involve the parents, but the parents understand the covenant that the players are doing and the mission statement that we've done with them, and it should dovetail and complement one another.
So the reason I've sort of gone the direction I've gone, I've watched my son coming up through high school playing sports, lacrosse and hockey, and watched captains chosen the same for both teams, the wealthiest family in the program, whose dad has the checkbook for the slush fund for the team. And they were not good captains. And my son just, ignored them. He says, and they didn't really do anything. I think I've been through a lot of leadership stuff in my corporate jobs. And companies spend hundreds of millions of dollars trying to develop leaders in business. And not very many people are very good at leading. They're good at directing, but not leading. And everybody's got a different style. I mean, you got, you can think, the Bobby Knight style, and you got, all the different coaches in hockey that are, hard ass, or Mike Sullivan's different than the other guy up, on the other team. As coaches, who are the ultimate leaders. But I think whenever you put somebody in a leadership position, you're obligated to help them grow as leaders and teach them about leadership. And in my working career, I think what I do for these young players is more leadership training than they'll probably get in their life.
Well, that's a really good idea, what you do with the whole group, for sure.
And it's voluntary, except they have to show up. So it's an extra meeting or two a month. And they all get a copy of the book. It's $29 or something US. And they're, the team pays for it. And the kids that want to be leaders, because, the idea is that every player can actually be a leader, right? I mean, they can't all score the winning goal. Most hockey teams, it's 3 or 4 kids score most of the goals. So what are the rest of the kids going to do? Right? So how do they lead? How does a goalie lead? How does a defenseman lead? Who does he lead? He leads his partner. He leads the other defenseman. The top defenseman should be helping the younger defenseman, and and in terms of shot blocking and all that. Everybody can be a leader of maybe just one other player on the team. So that's what I try to get, that type of team cohesion. Granted, Wally, you're right. I mean, it's about communication, and captains have a communication to the coaches. So a couple of years ago with that Bantam team I had that I had a lot of problems with, when we had the problems, I sat down with the captains. I said, my biggest disappointment here right now is that you didn't come to me and tell me what was going on. And you all knew. In fact, a couple of you participated. And I know you were scared that you were going to have consequences, and there were consequences. But this is a real learning moment for you guys. And I'm just disappointed that you didn't trust me enough to come and talk to me. So we had that. Later in the season, goalies were playing every other game. One of the goalies was female, the other was male, and we got in the playoffs. And the captain came to me and he said, the boys want the guy goalie to play, not the girl, because I said it's her turn. He says, yeah, but we always start slow, and we need the guy to hold us into the game until we get going. And I said, look, I made a commitment to the goalies that we're going to play every other game. And they're both good goalies. And it's her turn. I said, so this is on you. You get the boys up and get them going, and don't start slow, start fast and play hard. And between the second and third period, because we had ice, a fresh ice cut, I was in the lobby getting a drink of water, and the captain was out there, and he came over, he said, and we were winning the game at the time, he goes, "Good call, coach. That was a good call. That was the right call." And we ended up winning that game in overtime. And she was awesome. And so there's a lot of things that happen, and there's a lot of communication through it. I was with our goalie from last year. I had dinner with him last night to talk about this next year in Bantams, and I told him that we're probably not going to have captains, but we're going to have a leadership group. I didn't do it with Pee-wees because I think they're a little too young, to get them to sit still long enough to actually do it. And it wasn't a problem at all. But I think Bantams is the right time to introduce it, or for girls U15. I've done it with the girls, and the girls really, really like it.
Did you do the volunteer meetings twice a week with the girls?
No, the book has got, I can't remember how many chapters there are. So I would just say, look, we're going to meet in 2 weeks. I want you to read the first 2 chapters and just answer the questions. And then we sit down and we let each of them talk about what was in those chapters, or what resonated with them, what they wrote in their book. So it could be every couple of weeks. I want to get it done by January because, if possible.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how many of the Bantam kids want to go through this. And if they skip a meeting or they don't do the homework, I tell them, then you're out. You're out of the group, because.
How many did you get volunteer, and how many had to leave the group?
Well, normally I like a group of about 5 or 6, but in high school that's what I had. But with the Bantams we had like 14, so I had to split them into 2 groups. So, but you think about it. Think of the time commitment. On my part now. Now I've got an extra 8 or 10 hours a month I have to spend working on this with these kids, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And then of course the parents want the kids in the group, and some of the kids don't want to be in the group, right? And so I think the more you get, especially in youth hockey and girls hockey, boys, you get two birth years, and some of the girls stuff, as you get older, you got 3 or 4 birth years. I think it's important to get those kids together and just sit and talk. And the other thing I did when I took over the girls 15 team 2 years ago, that was in 2020. I didn't know any of them. So I had the manager arrange a pizza dinner, and we would meet with 3 of them at a time. So we had 3 coaches and 3 players, but we had the mom mix the kids up so they weren't with their best friend. So they were with kids that they didn't know very well. And then everybody, how'd you grow up? Where does your family do? Where do you have a cabin up north? We tried to do all that sort of get to know each other stuff. Really important for me as a coach, because the more I know about a kid, the easier it is for me to coach them and talk to them and relate to them. Sometimes it's more about, it has nothing to do with hockey. It's just about them as people and their families and understanding them as individuals. Because there's that's especially with girls, and if you're a guy coach, you have to get permission from them to coach them. Boys just, you're the coach. I think with girls, it's you need to earn the right to coach them. You got to earn their trust. And you can do that pretty quickly just by talking to them. And it took me a couple of weeks to get that going when I started with them. And then it was great after that. But they're wary. They don't like to be yelled at. They don't like to, so you don't yell at them. Nobody likes to get yelled at anyways. I don't. So I work at this pretty hard because I think it's important for the kids. And and again, the parents like it. They like the fact that I do this for their kids, and I go the extra mile, opposed to all the other coaches they've ever had. So, if I'm going to coach the way everybody else's coaches then I'm not going to coach, because I just don't do it the same way everybody does it, because I have a different style, a different direction, and I get better outcomes most of the time.
Hell, I got to thank you, because the leadership thing, I talked to one of our, she's actually a U18 coordinator.
Yep.
That has a daughter on the U15 team.
Yep.
And she asked about leadership.
Yep.
And I did provide her with a couple of manuals that they may not be as significant as yours, but this one is how the greatest coaches lead. It's a CD.
Okay.
And coach bigger than the game, just like the greats did.
Yep.
It's all about pro coaches, but this guy works in minor hockey.
Yep.
He's a minor hockey leader.
Yep.
I gave her copies of a leadership manual that he wrote just to look at.
Yep.
But I think it was perfect timing right now, because the idea of leadership, it's doing something more than anybody else is doing. Yep. That's important, that's valued, that is based on ethics and leadership. What's that, Tom?
Yep.
This is by Daniel Coyle, the guy that did the talent code.
Yeah.
He did the culture code, and it's really good.
Yep.
It gives examples of all sorts of situations and, leadership.
I mean, you can see it in business. In very successful businesses have very, very strong cultures and very, intuitive leadership. And you can think of examples where they don't, like Tesla and whatever. But they got it.
Guys, I found Bruce Beaton's book. I'm going to read you the title. Through Leadership, The Leadership Through Sport Winners Manual, 21 Characteristics of Winners in Sport and Life, by Bruce Beaton. Now, Bruce is a guy who never played high school football, but he made university football team. He ended up playing for the Eskimos for 12 years, was an all-star for 6 years, and he has 3 doctorate degrees. And he's written outstanding materials that I used to share, and I have a couple of his on my site. If you go to the Wally Kozak 2009 and type in Bruce Beaton, you'll come up with maybe 3-minute edits of some of the things he said. And so his characteristics of a winner, and it's got answering questions. Winners never make excuses. And the rules John Wooden created to create winners in sport and life were: don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. You think you can accept the challenge to follow John Wooden 3 simple rules for a week, so that you learn to think and act like a winner, like the great John Wooden. And he's got 2 more questions after that.
Oh.
So he has 21 characteristics. This is his leadership manual. I don't even know if you can buy it anymore. But that's something, and it's all sports.
Yeah.
Hockey related. So
the other book is that I showed you. It's multi-sport. It's got women, it's got men's, youth, but it is a workbook also, so that the players have to interact. They have to read the chapter and then answer a few questions. I like the style. What kind of a leader do you think you are? Are you a quiet leader? Are you a vocal leader? Are you, do you lead by example?
Yeah.
I've had some kids, older boys that decided that they were going to help the first year kids assimilate into the team because that was what their deal was. And it takes all kinds of leadership. And I think at the coaching level, it takes a variety of different leadership styles. The head coach has a leadership style. The assistant coaches should have a different leadership style. If they're the defensive coach or the goalie coach or whatever, they need to figure out how to lead those players. And I always say though to my coaches, but we have one voice in the locker room, and it's mine. So as long as you're saying the kind of stuff that is in my wheelhouse, I'm okay with it. When you get out on the edge, and then we have to have a conversation. We can disagree in the coach's locker room, but we can't disagree in the player locker room. And I ended up having a coach that was going around me on a lot of stuff, and I had to ask him to leave. So
Yeah, I just wanted to give you and Tom a heads up. I have to leave at 10 this morning, but I've got an appointment for my knee brace. At any rate, my question to you is, what has been, in terms of leadership, your biggest challenge that you've faced and felt were able to deal with in a positive way?
wow.
It depends what year and what group, right?
Yep.
You've had a lot of years.
Well, the worst one I ever had
Go ahead, Tom.
was college women, and I went around and I did that, named 5 people, and everybody named this one girl, and she was a veteran and one of the better players. So she was captain, and we had a new player that was, yeah, she was working outside of the hockey in college too, and she thought she should be captain. I guess I don't really know. And she went up to this girl and said, I did a survey of the whole team and nobody voted for you. That's what she told her. And I heard this, and I guess in the dressing room, and I had no female coach that was regularly in the dressing room. I had a goalie coach, but she was only there, a couple of days a week and stuff. But she was disrupting the dressing room all year, and I met with her, and I said, why would you say that? I said, I'm the only one that knows who was nominated by the players, and everybody in the team, including you, mentioned her. And she kept it up all year, and my athletic director wouldn't let me get rid of her, and she caused problems all year. And so that was someone that she had to be out of the dressing room, and she wasn't even a good player. And so that you can really have problems like that if you're not able to deal with them the way you need. You need to deal with them. So that was the worst one ever.
Hell, can you think of something? Have you thought of anything come to your mind?
Well, that was a good story, Tom. I like that. I don't know. I've really wrestled with this whole issue of captains. It reminds me of how much time and energy you spend on picking the last 2 or 3 kids for the team, and it's kind of a crapshoot. And it's why I just sort of kind of went away from it, because it was disruptive. It's in many cases, like Tom saying, it's very divisive, and it really leads to hindering our ability to create the kind of an experience environment that we want if we don't have captains that willingly will work with us and the other kids will work with them. And in today's world where everybody is so focused on themselves, it's a tougher deal. I didn't have any problems with this a long time ago, but about 10, 12 years ago, it just got harder and harder and harder. So I said, well, I got to do something different here because I don't want to start the season where players are unhappy. And guess who else is unhappy? Their parents up in the stands are unhappy, right? And the same kids seem to be the captains every year coming along. I had a kid tell me, let me see, what were we playing? Pee-wees. And I didn't do captains. And he was the best player. And I said, you've got to, and we need you to step up and as a player on the ice. I need more from you. And he says, well, I can't do that unless I have a C. I said, well, then I guess you're not going to do it, kid. But he thought he had to have a C on his jersey so he could play better.
Yeah.
I don't know. His dad was CEO of Polaris at the time, and
well, this poor girl I that was being harassed. She was the most happy-go-lucky girl. Like the first 2 years I coached.
Yep.
She was absolute bundle of nerves.
Yep.
She wasn't having any fun. And, I met her about it, and me and my assistant coach met her, and she was, it was just awful for her being a captain. And I really we should have really worked with her about how to deal with it. I tried to deal with the problem. And then on my exit meetings, every player said that this player was kind of taking the fun out of being there.
Yep.
And so,
in
it's
high
not
school,
so much a captain thing, but having somebody disrupting your whole team. And if you get like there, I should have had the ability, because in other teams I did get rid of people that were like that. And in minor hockey, like once you pick the players, you're kind of stuck with them the rest of the.
You are.
Like this girls hockey Calgary, I know they make the team, and then last year the parents had to come up with $4,500 off the hop, and then the cash calls as the year went on. So you can't really say, okay, well now you're not on the team.
Right.
Well, they wouldn't allow it anyway, but it's
well,
yeah.
in high school we would name at the banquet each year. We would name a couple of captains for the next year, in the theory that they would lead in the summer programs and so on and so forth. And we had a wonderful young man named as captain for his senior year. His father had played in Major League Baseball. He was a pitcher, and just a wonderful family. And in the fall, before the season started, he called me up and he said, "Hey, Coach, I don't want to be captain." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because we got a couple ninth graders that are just giving me a lot of crap all the time and being very disrespectful to me in the locker room here this summer or whatever." And he said, "I just want to play hockey. And if my being a captain is going to cause some issues, I want nothing to do with it." And I said, "Okay, I'm cool with that." And he wasn't a captain, and he had a great season. And this was 15 years ago. He's still playing ball. He's in the minor leagues. He's in AAA or AA ball or something, but just a wonderful kid. But I had a lot of respect for him to say, I'll just step down because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I had, when I played in midget, it was U17 then. I was the captain off the hop, but I had just a horrible year as far as injury goes. We had to dive over 6 guys and do a forward roll, and there were the mats with no Velcro holding them. So when I took off the mat, it slipped behind me. So I nicked the last guy, and my chin cracked my collarbone.
Oh, geez.
So I missed 4 weeks because of that. Then I get back, and we're doing a breakout play, and we're playing outdoor hockey. And there was a Chinook, which is a warm wind, makes the snow really soft. So it was a double, now they're hockey rink beside, and they were having a snowball fight. So we're doing a breakout play. I'm going down, and boom, I get hit in the left eye. And it was the night of the Clay Liston fight.
Oh,
because it was on the radio, and updates on the radio.
Yeah.
So I go in there, and they put a light bulb. I couldn't see the light bulb. and my eye was bleeding so much.
Oh, geez.
And I had to lay without moving for a few weeks, that they couldn't really do anything for it. So I missed 6 weeks of that. But we kept on, it was a provincial championship round going on. And anyways, this other guy who was a really good guy and ended up playing NHL and World Hockey, they'd appointed him captain. And when I got back, the coach says, well, Tom, Al's, doing a really good job at captain. I want you to be assistant. And I totally understood.
Yeah, sure.
Because I was almost not feeling like part of the team, eh?
Yeah.
And we went on to win the provincials. And, but, it was just one of those bad luck years. And I lost permanently some of my night vision on that. But anyways, that's another story.
In the high school, one year, we got a new kid coming. We got kids from 3 other schools, small Christian schools. And this kid was pretty good. I went and watched him play soccer. He was an all-state soccer player. And in his last game, he blew out his knee. And I think he was going to be a junior. It was his junior year. So I told his dad, well, here's the doc, go down and PCO and get this knee fixed, which he did. And that kid came to every single practice and every game and sat in the stands and was in the locker room. So he'd come to practice, and for the beginning, and where we play, there's a health club attached to the building, and then he would go over there and do his PT exercises for his knee, and then he'd be back before practice was over. He did that for 3.5 months. And about January, I said, hey, Evan, he hadn't even skated with us yet.
Yeah.
I said, how about being a captain? And he looked at me and go, that'd be awesome, coach. And I made him a captain. We added him on as a captain. And he ended up playing our last 4 games of the season. And then he was a great captain his senior year. It was just, but he had all that quality that you want out of a captain. And we're a great kid. So I got to run, you guys.
Before I've got to sign off too. Before we say goodbye, Hal, I want to do a session on captains, and I'd like to get Kim McCullough on and some of the females to talk about how they face those challenges. But Tom, at that time later, the team that you took over, we had the midget AAA team. We had some serious internal problems, and I believe that I and Keith made a tremendous mistake in the selection of captains. And not only that, we did not do anything to help them and develop their leadership. So we were responsible in some way for what happened that year, and you salvaged the year. But I still think the leadership of that group was better once you became involved. So I want to thank you guys for both coming on, and I have to sign off now. I've recorded it. I'm going to have fun editing some of this, but it's really important stuff.
It is.
Okay, guys.
Have a great weekend. I'm going to Los Angeles tomorrow for the weekend, so I'll catch up with you guys soon. Okay.
Keep those.
See you, Hal. See you, Wally.
Bye-bye.